nice coffee.
Is it a good one?
That's the second good coffee you've made this week. I think it's only the second
I've
coffee
only
you've
made 2 for you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, lovely.
That's nice. Delicious. We're still on an alcohol hiatus, aren't we?
Yes, Toby still can't drink, so...
Still can't drink.
We're
Only
still not drinking.
3 more weeks, which I'm actually really excited about. So
Yeah.
3 weeks we'll be back to having cocktails, which, yeah, I'm very excited
It's kind of
about.
getting to that point where I'm a bit like... I see people drinking and I'm a bit jealous. I don't want to be drunk or anything, but I just see, like, you know, if on Instagram, if someone puts like a really cold glass of wine or a cocktail or something, and I'm like, oh, I would love that right now.
Yeah, me too. Like a
I think I will be
daiquiri.
ready. Yeah. Just something nice and refresh, like just a drink. It's not like I want to be really drunk. I just want a drink.
Yeah.
I don't know
yes,
why. 'Cause
Same here.
I don't know what's going to do to me, but I just want one.
It's kind of like the little things. I don't know if anyone listening has this as well, but we were talking through our plan for the day earlier, and it's a Sunday that we're recording this, and we're going to go for Sunday lunch at a nice restaurant. And I was saying that when we get home, it'd be really nice just to sit and read for a while, and that would be made so much better with a glass of wine.
Just a nice glass of wine. Thing is, when it's the two of you and you open a bottle of wine, you're not just going to leave the bottle of wine, so you end up having 3 glasses each, and then you're tipsy.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like 1 glass of wine would be lush.
Yeah.
We should start when
Buying
we
small
can drink and
bottles.
buying those like half bottles.
Yeah.
Just feels like
Although,
you spend more money.
obviously, luckily with the wine, if you're not having like fizzy or champagne, you can.
Yeah, especially if you buy a screw top.
Yeah, you can
Just
have
screw
it.
it back up.
Yeah, I just don't love a screw top.
I know.
Why do screw tops feel
Not as fun.
not as good?
I think they are obviously more affordable. It's not even the
Are they
price
now,
of
though?
it. No, it's not that. I just think it feels more fun to be like
Yeah. It's kind of like popping a champagne bottle. It
If
makes it feel
if it was a
special.
screw top,
It just
it'd be
feels
like-
luxury.
Yeah.
To me, it's kind of, and no shade for this because I think they're actually really good, but it's kind of the same as if you have like wooden floors or laminate floors.
Yeah,
Or if you
exactly.
have like we have this, but if you have like UPVC windows or timber windows, like
yeah, it's obviously nicer
it
to have the like
the
more
original,
higher end one.
the
but
like classic one.
I just think corked wine is lovely,
Yeah, it is.
but they are more annoying because I used to never be able to do it.
No, you only learned in the last few
Yeah,
months.
you had to
really.
teach me. So
Yeah, and I'm not great.
no.
So,
Well, there we go.
well, anyway, cheers to our coffee.
Cheers
Cheers
to
to
the
the best
coffee.
coffee ever.
Yeah.
We've actually started, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we started having collagen in our coffee.
Yeah, I think we did mention it a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay. I
But
won't say it again.
No, it is good.
It's good.
People might not have listened.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, we spoke about it already, but we've started having like 2 tablespoons of collagen in our coffee, which apparently is really
Yeah.
good for your
One
skin.
of our friends recommended it, so we were like, and she's got really good skin, so we were like,
Yeah, and
I'll do it.
So it's making me drink more coffee, which
Yeah.
probably not a good thing, but oh well.
Could be worse. It's decaf.
Could be worse. Anyway, last few days, what's been going on?
When
Life
did we last
updates?
record? Only a few days ago.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
trying to get a little bit ahead. We've got some quite big things coming up over the next few weeks, so we want to be a couple of episodes ahead.
Just in case we can't record for a while.
Yeah, so we what have we been doing? We've actually been making the house ready for spring, and then
Oh, we've done a big change. Did we talk about changing the layout of the room? I think maybe we were like mid changing the layout. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we spoke about it too much, but we have changed the layout. Well, I say we. Toby has changed the layout of the room quite drastically.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure most people would be like, that's not drastic.
I mean, if you're watching
does
on
feel quite
YouTube,
drastic.
you will. I suppose it is drastic.
Yeah, we've
for
changed
most
the
people.
table. We've got rid of the sideboard. We've moved the living room layout
The
around.
sideboard's just gone upstairs.
Well, yeah, we
are
haven't got
keeping
rid
it.
of, so we've moved it from the living room, from the dining area.
We've got some new lamps.
Yeah, the sofa area, if you knew what it was like before, now we've got the sofa sort of, what was that, perpendicular to the fireplace.
Yeah, I suppose.
And then like 2 chairs opposite it, so it feels a little bit more social.
Yeah.
And then we swapped to a round dining table.
Yeah.
Rather than having the long 8-seater, we just honestly never use it, which we will
No.
come on to shortly. But we've swapped to a round table,
Yeah.
just like a 4 to 6-seater. And then just really simplified everything. I know we've mentioned before, but we've been decluttering loads, simplifying.
We're like a broken record.
I
I swear we
know.
say this every podcast episode, but
it feels like it's really getting there.
it's really getting there. And
Yeah.
also is just in terms of moving the furniture, I think, which is kind of edging on what we're going to talk about later in the episode, but I think it's so nice to be able to like adapt your home
Yeah.
and let it evolve. And like I remember growing up, that I think it was quite like a rigid thing. Like it was thought if you buy a certain piece of furniture, that's where it goes, that's where it stays. And probably because particularly in our lives, I think design was less important compared to like fashion. And
like when we were children, it wasn't. People obviously they did not take pride in their homes, but now it feels like a really big thing to be like into your house, whereas like, back then it didn't feel so much like that.
100%. And I thought growing up that my parents took a lot of sorry, Mikey's just picking up little dust.
Sorry, there's like sugar or something on the table. It's annoying me.
I used to think my parents took a lot of pride in our home, which they did.
They did. Your
like
parents did.
They 100% did. And my dad has always been really clean and like very making sure the house is clean and well presented. And my grandparents are the same as well. And then my mum was into like homeware. But when I look
Laura
back, she was a classic Laura Ashley girly, John Lewis, that kind of thing. But when I look back now at photos, I'm like, ew. Compared to her house now,
like it's so different, because back then I think being into your house didn't mean the same as it does today. Like
it meant
you just
colour
had to have,
coordinating.
like, like this room has like a blue theme,
this room has
has
wallpaper,
a red theme, and this one has a like, which is still really not like it felt more. I'd say it felt a lot more like family home. Back then,
but maybe that's because we were
people
kids.
are just so much more coordinated, like throughout their whole house. I think like people would. It's quite normal now to renovate your house and kind of do like the whole thing.
Well, even renovating actually. Just in general
was never really a
like
thing.
that. Maybe that's why my parents, I felt, had a nicer house in terms of the decor, because they renovated the house so it was brand new. Whereas I think it was so much more common to see a house on like, well, in the estate agents in a brochure or whatever, and think that is how the house stays.
Like, oh, that's the living room then, so can't change that, and that's the kitchen, can't change that.
Whereas everyone and his or her wife or husband now, I swear, is a renovating couple.
I know, but also I think that's probably a lot to do with social media, because you see so many like nice houses now.
It's more accessible.
Do think like, oh, I could do that, or I will do that, because that's what people do. Like, a lot of people now will buy a house and they don't just kind of move in and are like, I'll just live with it like this. Like, everyone changes everything, it seems, which is nice, because everyone then does their own thing. But it does feel now like it's a lot more of a, I don't even think it's a trend. I don't think it's going to go.
No, me
just
either.
Feels like that is a part of
it's a priority for
people
now.
People want to have really nice, like, cohesive houses.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think why or how that's happened. And I guess things like COVID and lockdown.
Yeah, people spend so much time at home now.
Yeah, like people work from home, people host and do a lot more gatherings at home. Like, it was probably a lot more common 10 years ago to all go out for Sunday lunch every weekend. Whereas now, I think most people would probably host things like that, or birthday parties. You used to rent a bar, or I think everyone would just do it at home now. Which
COVID probably does play a massive part of it, because being locked in our houses basically for like, I can't even remember how long it was now, however long it was. A lot of people probably were like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, and you want to make it nice if you're going to be living there 24/7.
And also for the first time, probably the emphasis went from being on how you like. I would say 90% of people, if they were going to prioritize how they look or how their home looks, probably prioritized how they look. Whereas with COVID, you weren't seeing anyone.
You're like, I can look like a tramp, but
like I can't have a haircut, I can't have my eyelashes, eyebrows, all of these treatments done that people have. So instead, I'm going to spend that money on my house. Or I can't go on holiday, so I'm going to spend the money on my house. And I think that's where it's like grown into being such a big thing. And I was thinking just now, actually, when you were saying about people not just like buying a house and moving in and keeping it. I wonder what that will mean for new builds. Because a big thing, obviously, and I know you can always put your stamp on it, but a big thing with the new build home is that it's like ready to go. It's like a new house. Like you shouldn't, obviously you can, but you shouldn't really be going into it thinking, I'm going to rip out the kitchen, I'm going to rip out the floors, because from a financial aspect and an environmental aspect, that just seems
such a waste of that, all of that work.
Waste of time.
I think a lot of the time, if you're buying a new build and you start early, you can like pick what you want to an extent.
Yeah, you can,
obviously.
for sure. I've worked with clients who are in the process of having new builds, either from like a bigger developer or from really small ones. And especially the small ones, you get
you could be a lot more free,
so much control. Like I've worked with two people actually, one lady who was so lovely, and she, in her new build, was having a Tom Howley kitchen, which I think she had like agreed with the developers that she would pay for separately, and then got some money off. And then someone else had a Neptune kitchen that they were in the stage of.
Yeah.
So
I do think
there
as
is
well,
more
though, because obviously
customization.
we looked at some new builds when we were thinking of moving, and I do think the marketing around them has changed, and now they market them as like, it's a blank canvas for you to put your stamp on, which obviously it is. But I think a few years ago it would have been like, it's a ready to move in house. Like you just move in, put your furniture in, and you're done. Whereas now it does feel like they're kind of like, it's perfect because no one's put their stamp on it yet, so you can do whatever you want and you can decorate it how you want, which is completely true. But obviously you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm paying a premium for a new house, and then I'm also having to pay to decorate it. So
100%.
maybe that will become less attractive for people, because you're like, well, I could just renovate any house if I'm gonna do that.
So
like,
true.
As long as you move into a house that has like a nice kitchen and bathroom, you're like, everything else I'll do anyway.
Exactly.
I don't know,
I suppose it's like a solid foundation, you know. There's probably not going to be issues, or you have protection if there are issues with like damp or the roof.
Exactly. Also, you know, you're getting square rooms.
Quite funny as well. I actually think she might listen to the podcast, but someone we know, one of our like close friends' sisters, Charlotte, she's just bought, hasn't she, a new build, and we saw her before Christmas, and they actually bought, I think, probably the last plot, which was the show home, and it's like a really small development of only like I don't know how many she said,
it was in like 10 or 12 or something,
not many houses, and they've moved in a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking to our friend, we saw her last week, and she was saying like, it's so interesting, like they have everything, because
like
they got the show home
included absolutely everything that the show home had in it, including like the flour in the cupboards, the dog food, the dog bed, like they didn't have a dog. So they were like, I was like, oh, what are they going to do with all the furniture? And she was like, well, a lot of it's actually really nice, so they're going to keep a lot of it.
I mean, it makes sense.
But obviously then you kind of have to be like, what don't we want? And then you have to sell it all if you don't want it, or like rehome it somehow.
I guess it makes it nice on moving in day, like you just well, you wouldn't even need to wash your bedding,
like,
but you
would.
Got
a table, it's probably all laid with like crockery and stuff.
You could get just like
a takeaway, like done.
Which is so funny, but
that would actually be so nice.
Obviously it would be kind of annoying when you get all your.
They've also got furniture from their old house, so they're having to like bring all of that, and then they're like, okay, we've got like 3 sofas now.
Double whammy. It could be fun. You could have like a sale of the furniture, kind of like what are they called in America? I want to say estate sale, but
garage.
That's when someone's passed away.
Is it a garage sale?
A garage sale? Yeah, I don't know. Anyone who's in America, please let us know. But yeah, I guess that takes us quite nicely to what we wanted to talk about today, and like talking about changing the layout of our house. And this conversation, I think, has kind of stemmed from something that I posted on Instagram this week following some quite deep conversations we've been having about like, I don't know. This
feels like it's taken a really solemn turn.
I know. It's
not.
It's not at all. But it's just because I think it's like quite serious, and I'm careful. I don't want to say something that like offends someone else's decision.
Yeah, no, obviously not. But this is fully
just us. Yeah,
like, it's no one else's thing,
and we're not sure like how our lives will look, basically. And I guess that's the point of what we want to say in relation to design. But we are not sure what our future looks like at all, are we?
So dramatic.
I know, but we're not. Like,
no, I don't think anyone. Well, some people are.
But I think we're not sure of what our future looks like. And for a long time, we'd been designing our lives and our home based on the idea that we will be a very, obviously we're not traditional, we're 2 men, but a like traditional nuclear family of 2 parents, 2 kids, a dog or 2.
And I've got 2 kids.
A like 4-bedroom family home.
I think we just, not even that we hadn't thought about it because we'd spoken about it a lot, but you just kind of envision this life of like, we're going to have a family home with a dog running around and 2 kids, and we'll host Christmas for our families, and we'll have a big house, and we'll have a big garden and a driveway and this and that. And obviously then that's really easy when you're like 22 and it's nowhere near happening yet.
And you're like, oh, it's ages away.
And then I think since we've been married, it's been kind of like, when's this going to happen? And because we're not able to have children just naturally, as much as we keep trying, it's just not happening for us. No, because we can't have children naturally, I think we have to really, really want it.
Yeah.
Because if we want to adopt, that's a really intense process.
Yeah.
And if you want to do it with a surrogate, that's also a really intense process. So you can't just be like, oh, we'll just do that.
I think it's a really difficult decision, like you were saying, that I think we know. I'm not taking the experience of parenthood lightly. No. But I feel like I know we would be really good parents, and I'm like confident with that, and I don't care if that sounds cocky. No, we have like a lot of love to give, and we're both like very like communicative, and we have like a calm, warm home, and we could raise a child, have children,
and it would be good, which is also part of it. I think we're like, oh, well, we would be good at being parents. So we should. But essentially, we're not sure what the future holds. We're not sure if we will. We're not sure if we won't. Never say never. But we're think very much considering that we might not.
Yeah, and also,
and it's definitely not happening
in the next
anytime soon.
Couple of years.
So it's. That making that decision as well helps to be like, well, why would, because that was a big part of the reason we were thinking of moving, was that like, oh, well, we need to be ready for that and that. But if we're thinking like realistically, probably in the next even 5 years, it's hard to say, but from where our minds are now, we probably wouldn't be ready or want to have children yet.
No.
So you're like, why were we trying to buy a big family home 5 years before we even have children?
Yeah, like paying.
We'd just be like paying for a bigger house, but we wouldn't use half of it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it also, so like the message before we actually carry on talking about it, because this might not be making any sense of why we're talking about us wanting kids or not for a lot of you, but I guess the message is for us in particular, and I think maybe anyone listening who's in a similar stage of life, you don't need to plan your life now, your current life, based on a future that isn't guaranteed. Because, and I had such interesting conversations with people on Instagram, because I posted something talking about this, and I had so many conversations from women and men who have felt a lot of pressure from either family or friends or
just society,
even films or music, pressure that their life is worthless unless they get married, they have children,
and a fulfilling career,
and more relevant to us in this podcast, a certain type of home. Like, you're not seen as worthy in a lot of societies if you don't have, or if you rent a 1-bed flat in a city. And why is that? Why are you
better?
Why are you better or worse? Like, it makes no difference. And obviously there are massive pros and cons to both sides of that, but I think it's an important thing to realize and remember that your life, to put it morbidly, it could literally end next week.
Exactly.
So why would you be so focused on something that isn't
ready there? But I mean, and also on the other point, and this is why obviously we're just talking about us, but if you know you really want children and that is your life's goal and that's what you really want, and you want a big family and you want all of that, then that makes sense to buy a family. If that's what you really want, that obviously makes sense. But because we're not sure, and we've had that kind of like realization, I mean, we've spoken about it for a few years, but I think we've realized that it's not happening anytime soon. So why were we kind of like putting plans into place for something that we didn't even know if we wanted? And it was just to be like, we've done that, so tick that off the box. Like, we've got the family home,
almost,
so at least we've
proven
that we can do that. And then if we don't have children, we proved that we could, and we've shown that it's our own decision almost. Like, we've got a family home, so we could easily do it, but we're not having children, so it's not for that reason. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But I think it was quite a big part of why we've even started like doing all the changes around our house and decluttering and stuff, is that we have realized that it's really silly to be doing stuff based on a pressure you're feeling from someone or something. It's not even anyone in particular, it's more like it's like us problem, or like it's your own problem. But I think it's really easy to get swept up in that.
I think living your life for someone else, or for the approval of someone else, is a really big problem. And
I think that's such a common experience for almost everyone.
Like
everyone is just seeking approval constantly, which is
I mean, yeah,
which is accurate for humans. Like that's what we want, but it's also really limiting sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And now, I mean, we'll do this as well, and we'll obviously share ours. But if you question in your home,
yeah,
and I hope that like everyone listening cannot have this, and maybe like we have, but if you question some of the decisions you've made, I'm sure you can find something you've done, not because you love it or because you need it or you want it, but because you want to give a certain like there's lots of things we've done. For example,
God,
like
the bloody dining room table that sat like 10 people.
Yeah, we had a few examples. We had a 10-person dining table, which we used. The most people we had sat around that dining table was 4 people, including us.
In a year
of having it.
Yeah. And it didn't look like it was going to get used anytime soon.
No, I don't think it would have been used for another year at least. So,
and it's not that it looked really bad or anything, but it was just taking up space.
We didn't need it.
It had all these chairs like squeezed into it, and it was just like impractical for our life. It wasn't working for us.
And the other two kind of like, that's the example. And then if we did end up having 10 people, what we've said now, we can just go out for dinner with those 10 people.
Or it will literally happen not even once a year,
probably once every 5.
If we really need to, you can like borrow a bigger table from someone, or like get an extra, borrow some chairs,
just do nibbles, just do
hors d'oeuvres, stand
around and hold a glass of champagne.
We'll do it in the summer and have a barbecue outside.
Yeah, exactly. There's always something that can solve it. Another one, the spare room. So we have a small house, as I'm sure you'll know if you've listened before or you've watched us on YouTube, and our home is like a 2-bed mid-terrace cottage, and we maybe at most had someone stay 3 times a year, which I think is probably, based on the conversations I've been having at least, that's probably quite common for like a married couple, that you'd maybe have a friend stay like 3-4 times a year at most. And we basically, if you worked out how much it costs to keep that empty bedroom for 362 days a year,
like
to pay the bills, cleaning, washing, all of that stuff, and based on how much you use it, you would honestly probably be spending thousands and thousands per year to have that bedroom. And if you think, not that you should have to do this, but if you said to that friend, if you wanted to use that room for something else, if you said to that friend, like, whenever you want to come and stay, I'll book you into the nearest hotel and I'll just pay. It'll be a couple of £100 or maybe like 400 quid a year. You will spend way less money. They would love it. It's like a nice treat for them. They can come,
especially if you live, or maybe if you live remote, it's harder, but if you live in like a city where there is going to be a hotel within like a 10-minute taxi, or a walk, you probably will definitely be able to find it cheaper.
Exactly. And if not, if you live in this is what we've done. We converted our second bedroom into a dressing room, which we love and we use every day. And
so much more.
That was the best thing we've done.
That is the best thing we've done in our house. And that's the only thing, well, up until now, that was the only thing we've ever done for us.
Yeah, it really
was. Loads of people were like, wow, that is a really brave. Everyone always says, God, that's such a brave decision.
Yeah. Like, that might affect the resale value.
Yeah. Or like when we had estate agents around when we were selling the house, the estate agent was like, oh, that was brave.
Yeah.
But you're like, well,
we wanted it. And we made sure, which again, this is like, so you can, this obviously
slightly contradictory,
but we made sure that it could fit a blow up bed.
Yeah, so like if you wanted to put a double, and also if we did come to sell it, it could fit a double bed and a king bed. So they could still it could still technically be a bedroom with just like wardrobes.
Which essentially it is.
Yeah, but even we moved from that bedroom. So that was originally our bedroom, which is like the biggest room in the house. And then we moved to our spare bedroom to make that our own bedroom, and that was actually off of I don't know if it was, but kind of off of the back of Lily Allen. Was it Architectural Digest like tour of her house?
Yeah, with David Harbour.
Yeah,
I think they split up now. Maybe it was a small bedroom.
Yeah, they had their main bedroom was the smallest room in the house that was just big enough basically to fit a king size bed and a bedside table.
No
windows, no nothing. Which I mean, I don't think I'd love that because I do like natural light. But the point of it was that like what do you do in your bedroom other than sleep?
Well.
What do you do other than in your bedroom than use your bed?
Yeah.
And
well, some people do yoga in their bedroom.
well, yeah, if you do, then do it.
We
But
need a bigger bedroom.
we only use the bedroom for the bed, and we were using the front room because that's just what people expect. Like, use the primary bedroom. Like, the biggest bedroom should always be your bedroom. But because we really wanted a dressing room, it made so much sense to just have the smallest room as the bedroom.
Yeah.
And then have the big dressing room where you want to, like, I mean, I'm talking about, like, it's really big. It's not huge. But it is the biggest room in our house, to use that to be able to, like, get ready in. And it's really nice because all you're doing in the bedroom is lying in the bed.
Yeah.
So it's...
as long as you can fit down horizontally. That's all that matters.
Or vertically.
Or if you want to stand sleeping, that's fine.
But yeah, I think that was another big thing, that you just never even... It's almost like you don't even allow yourself to think about doing things differently. Or like, this is what makes sense. Like, I'll have the biggest one. If you've got children, they'll have the next, but probably the smallest one. And then you keep your spare room as like the second... Like, I remember my parents, I mean, they still do.
Yeah.
My bedroom... it wasn't small at all, I didn't mind, but the spare room was bigger than my bedroom.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, well, I want the guests to have the nice experience, which is obviously really nice.
Yeah.
But you're like, why?
I think, though, that's really nice, but it's also quite an old-fashioned way of thinking, because obviously in every industry and aspect today, we really think more about mental health and self-love and self-worth, and even though it's really important to value other experiences, you're the one who's in your house every day.
Exactly.
So,
and if you're
like your mum, actually, if you're listening,
she's listening, I'm sure.
You should have a dressing room, because
she would love
they
that.
love,
we say that all the time.
Yeah, she loves doing her makeup, getting dressed up.
Yeah,
she has so many dresses and shoes and nice
they
things.
have wardrobes in like every room.
Yeah.
Because we obviously lived there. We were like a family of 5, so there were wardrobes in every room for me and my sisters.
Yeah.
But so she has now like spread her wardrobe across all those different wardrobes.
Yeah.
But you're like, you would love it so much if you just changed one of those bedrooms into a really nice dressing room, and you could go up there and it would just be her that would need it, because my dad wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
And
that would be so nice.
It would be so nice.
I think
she's like, I don't want to get rid of a room because you all come back for Christmas, which is obviously really nice to be like selfless almost and do that.
Still, it's like a 5-bedroom house.
Just do it. Like, do it for you. Because we're only coming once a year. Like, I'll sleep on an airbed.
I guess that's also the other thing, like, on this topic, and what I had a lot of messages about was keeping a family home.
Yeah.
Based on the idea that you'll still be able to host Christmas.
Yeah.
And realistically, if I say about your parents, we've only all been there for Christmas maybe once in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do. They always try and do like a little Christmas around Christmas.
But still, there's only 8 of us.
And also, we only live 20 minutes away. So
we
don't get a taxi.
We could get a taxi, or there's loads of like hotels nearby, Airbnbs now.
Yeah.
So I understand why you want to keep like a family home where everyone can stay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and this is what a lot of people were messaging saying, you keep things on the promise that you will like recreate something that you once loved, and that's not going to keep happening, and eventually it will get less and less, and you'll end up, especially as you get older or as
it's harder.
Your life changes, you'll have this big house to maintain and to just keep nice. It's a lot of work that you're not using for yourself. You have all these bedrooms, you only live in 2 or 3 rooms, and then
you're having to like clean it, pay for it.
It's a lot of work.
I think that is quite difficult nowadays, because when our parents were young, like their generation, it was a lot easier for them to buy houses.
Yeah.
Not saying it was easy, but it is easier then than it was for people now. Mm-hmm. So quite a lot of our parents, well, especially our parents, I know we're very lucky, but they do have like big family homes.
Yeah.
And then our generation, we're obviously really lucky, but a lot of like my friends or people we know can't, like, do find it hard to buy houses, or you have to go and work in London to get a good job, and then you can't buy a big house in London. So I think our parents' generation are like, well, we need to hold on to our houses because we are the only ones who can do that, like, and host it. So I get why that's really difficult.
But also, why do you need to host Christmas? Like, why
well, if you really want to, which is exactly what we're saying, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But equally, I think a lot of people are probably like, oh, I'm the one that has to host everything.
Yeah.
And then pay for my house, that the energy bills are crazy expensive, the council tax, everything's really expensive.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to your point earlier, like, if you want to host Christmas or want to do that for Christmas, you probably could downsize, get a smaller house if that's what you need and use and want. Obviously, if you don't want to, I'm not telling people what to do, but the amount of money you saved in that, I bet you could hire like an Airbnb for Christmas for you all to go to.
An
for
amazing
nights.
one. You could spend like probably,
if you could spend all the money that you would spend on your house, obviously that defeats the
tens
point,
of thousands probably.
Yeah, a lot of people who are spending so much money on their like big family homes for these things that happen maybe 2 or 3 times a year, you could probably just either put everyone in a hotel and go out for dinner.
Yeah.
And think, do you know what I mean?
And
I know
also,
it's nice to all be together all the time.
It's nice to be together, but again, sorry, I know this is getting quite serious, but also a lot of people, there's a single couple living in a huge house. In
like a 5-bedroom
house.
It's really hard to get big houses.
There is like major housing poverty going on right now. And I'm not saying like we have a house that has probably even still more space than we need.
Yeah.
And our house is literally like 800 square feet.
Yeah.
But you have people who are a single couple living in 5-bedroom, 3,000 square foot homes. Yeah, exactly.
When there's like people who have like 3 children living in a 2-bedroom flat.
Yeah.
And they obviously like it is difficult, because I think that's kind of saying what I was saying earlier. We're just in a really weird time.
Yeah, we are.
Where like house prices have rocketed and salaries haven't.
Yeah.
And so it's really difficult to be able to.
But we're also, which again, I guess kind of closing note, unless you have anything after this, but we're in a time where it's so important because of that, that younger generations, well, every generation, if you live in a small home or a smaller space, you need to be making the use of that space and thinking about how you use it, how your family use it every day, not occasionally.
Not just on the occasion. Yeah, and I think that is we literally just spoke about not all the reasons, but deep reasons as to why you should. But that is the point, and I think that's what we've been thinking a lot about is everything we do in our house, we want it to be right for everyday life. Yeah. Because the occasion, you should be able to be like, oh, once a year we'll make it work. But for every day in your life, don't waste the rooms in your house. Don't have spare spaces that you're just not using. Make every single space usable, and if you're not using them, then think about if you really need that size of house, because you are just nowadays, no one wants to be wasting money. Yeah. And you're paying for something that, if you're not using it, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Preach.
Profound.
That was profound. That was deep.
No, I know. It's good. No, I know. But I just mean, I think that was a big thing for us with the children thing. Yeah. And obviously we're in almost a privileged position where if we're not sure if we do want children, if you know you want children, it is hard. If you are like, I need a bigger house, I need this, but it's all the more reason to make sure you're not wasting any space anywhere, because if you do want children and you do have a slightly smaller house, then you cannot have any wasted spaces.
No. I mean, something we've been talking about a lot as well on this subject is so we were looking to move to, probably it still wouldn't have been huge because we love the feeling of like cozy home, small spaces, but somewhere that had more bedrooms, essentially. And that would have cost probably twice as much as our house. Yeah. And we've been saving some money and we could afford a bigger house. Yeah. Essentially. And we've been thinking, like, maybe instead of doing that, if we're not sure we want children, maybe we'll buy a small holiday home that we can Airbnb, or we can let friends stay. Yeah. We can like decorate and design, and because we have a big passion, like we were saying at the start, for interiors. So there are other ways that we can kind of like
spend our money,
life and spend our money and use what we have, basically, without being
in a way that works for us. Yeah. And also, if we did do something like that, and then in a year's time we're like, oh, that didn't actually work out how we thought it did, we're not actually using it as much, it means we can rent that house out or something, or sell it, or it's not like we're like moving our whole life, we'd still be keeping this house. So it means that we're not kind of spreading ourselves all into one new massive house that you can't, like, you can change your mind obviously, but you've put all your eggs in one basket.
100%. And that's also, doing something like that is really making a decision for us, because for a lot of people that isn't what a traditional life looks like. It would make more sense to have one more expensive property than having two. But obviously, if you've listened for a while or watched our vlogs for a while, then you'll know that we also were thinking about relocating. So maybe it's a good way
and we've always been torn between city and country.
Yeah.
That's like constant for us.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's kind of giving us that balance, if we can do it, giving us a balance of maybe if we get somewhere in a city, a small apartment or something in a city, and then keep our house, which is more sort of countryside, it gives us the flexibility to do both.
Yeah, 2 small homes.
Yeah, which is obviously very privileged. So we completely understand that.
If we don't have kids, we're saving loads of money. So
kids do cost a lot of money. We have looked at that.
Kids cost a lot. But I hope if you're struggling with designing your home or figuring out like your future, and a lot of that obviously centers around a home and where you'll be based, just remember that you should be designing it and living it for you and your family, and not based on future circumstances or other outside opinions that maybe you put too much value on.
Exactly. I think that is a lot of, like with the dressing room, I think that always felt like a pipe dream that would never happen for us until we owned a big house.
Yeah.
And that is quite a big tip, I would say, is if you can write down a list of things that you're like, I'd love to have this in my house. I'm sure there's a way you can get those things if you think about how you're prioritizing the space.
Yeah. Sit down, have a think, and figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode.
I liked that.
Yeah, it was nice. It's like therapy.
Yeah, I feel like you like really get things off your chest. There's nothing getting off my chest, but you're like, whoa, I was clearly passionate about that topic.
Yeah, exactly. That was good. Cheers
my empty coffee. I did finish that quite early.
Yeah, I finished mine quite quickly. I was just kind of sipping the dregs.
Yeah. Oh, spilt at the last hurdle.
Spilt at the very end.
Oh
well, it's fine.
Right, well, please tune in again next week if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, don't come back. And give us a rating if you did like it. I mean, if you didn't like it, give us a rating too. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you again. We'll hear you again, see you again next week.
Hear you again.
You'll hear us again.
Thank you so much, and chat soon.
Bye.
Bye.